All right, good afternoon, everybody. I am coming to you on Saturday afternoon, a little bit later than normal. I decided I wasn't going to go home after going to the gym to change or anything like that. Plus, it's really hot outside, so I'm probably not going to do any Instagram lives outside for a couple of months, because if you're in Arizona, you realize that it is in the triple digits. After 10 a.m. in the morning, we're already over 100. So I'm probably not going to be on location outside until the fall. So I'll usually be in the office or where I live from here on out until probably October. It's just way too hot. But today, as you see, I'm a little bit casual, even though I'm in the office. It's a Saturday, nobody's here. We're going to start with our numerology digit of the day, which is 7, and 7 represents the seventh chakra. It is also represented by the amethyst stone, and the seventh chakra is the crown chakra, and that is the gateway to infinite intelligence. It represents peace, rest. After everything has been accomplished, it is a state of just enjoying everything that has been done and being at peace, being in a state of rest. It is also represented by the color violet, and the crown chakra actually modulates all of the other chakras and all of the other dimensions below it. So that is number 7. Today I'm going to be talking about something that's really been on my mind for probably the past 4 or 5 days. And it has to do with peace, inner peace. And I haven't even come up with a title for today's talk yet. And I'll probably figure it out at the end. But we are all very powerful transmitters of energy. This is something that many of you already know probably. And we're so powerful that our very thoughts and our feelings associated with those thoughts combine to shape our respective realities, right? So with that said, I want to share a thought that, although it's not very original, it can actually lead to us, being in a state of peace that is above the third dimension, that is more fifth dimensional, okay? And so consider that a pebble, if you drop a pebble in a pond or the lake, when it hits the water, there are waves that are going to propagate in all directions from where that pebble contacted the water. And it's going to radiate out in these concentric circles until it hits a barrier, a border, or an edge, and then ricochet back to where it started. And this is the same effect that our thoughts and our feelings and our words and our actions have on our circle. The people we hang around, our words, our actions, our thoughts, our feelings are ricocheting out into, first it's going to hit our circle, and then it moves further until karma and cause and effect will cause that to come back to us. So what the energy that you put out is what you're going to get back. And the pebble dropping in a pond is a very good example of that. Okay? So the words that you say, the thoughts that you have about those words, your actions, if they are based on intentions that are auspicious or ominous, that is what is going to be the outcome when they actually reach their destination. And you don't always know where they're going to wind up. So that's why it's so important to be very accountable and responsible for the things that you're putting out in the world. And you're always emanating, always radiating energy. And the more self-aware you become, the more responsible you are as someone who emanates energy and begins to do that in a way that's creative, where it's artful, where it's thoughtful, and it's not just unconscious and by mistake, by happenstance. So another factor is that there's a universal law called the Law of Correspondence, and it has to do with as above, so below. And the corollary to that is as within, so without. So basically means that that patterns repeat throughout the universe. So what's happening in our external world is a mirror or reflection of what's taking place in our internal world. What's happening internal in us is being projected out into the world. So if there's not world peace, and there's a lot of war, and there's a lot of chaos, and there are things that need to be reconciled, that is because on the inside collectively, on the human collectively inside, there's a lot of paradox and a lot of polarity, and there's a lot of inner conflict that really needs to be reconciled. So how do we do that? How do we begin to focus on the work of resolving inner conflict that we all have to some degree? Okay, well, you want to move into your heart from your head. You want to drop down from your mind and the mentalism and drop into your heart. Okay, why? Well, your heart is not subject to 3D. It's not subject to the polarities and the paradoxes of 3D. Your heart is a spiritual place, and so there is no duality. The heart is subject to the law of divine oneness, the law of one, meaning that everything is connected. In fact, there is no separation. Actually, we're all connected in the spirit, and so as we become more enlightened and we evolve, we begin to realize that we begin to see proof and evidence of that in synchronicities and telepathy, and how you can think of something and it happens. You think of a person and they call you. You think of something you need, or someone calls you or delivers it to you, or they mention it in the next conversation. So drop into the heart, and that's where you are going to be able to begin the process of reconciling those inner conflicts. So another way you can begin to do it is make a list of the things that you don't like about yourself, the things that you don't like or things that you don't love about yourself. Make a list of those things, because you are going to need to take time, and it may not be able to be done in one day, but you're going to have to be able to take time to begin to embrace those parts of yourself, those facets, aspects of yourself that you don't consider to be acceptable, things that you don't consider to be for public consumption, things that you're hiding, things that you don't want people to know, just things about yourself that you don't like, or people have derided you about, or people have ridiculed you for, and begin to see those qualities, those characteristics, from the vantage point of God or Source or your higher self. Okay? And so a way that you can do that is just imagine, those of you who have kids, offspring, imagine your child, okay? And you know that, your child falls down, they make mistakes, they mess things up, but we as their parents, we continually nudge them along, we encourage them, we support them, we remind them of how amazing they are, of what their potential is, and we continue to do that as they grow into this perfected creature that they are destined to be. And there are going to be times that they're going to need discipline, but again, this is all in the process of us guiding them with care and love in the right direction, so at some point they can begin to make decisions for themselves, make choices for themselves, good choices. So that is an example of how you can begin to see yourself from God's point of view, from your higher self's point of view. Imagine that God is dealing with you the way that you deal with your child. And so Source, your higher self, is nudging you along, reminding you of your greatness, arranging divine rendezvous with people, places, and events that trigger your evolution and your enlightenment. And so with all this stuff happening, you will begin to see the bigger picture of how those areas in your life that you deem failures and that you deem defeats, when you are able to see the bigger picture, the point of view of Source, that highest point of view where everything works together, where everything is connected and there's no separation, that we're all actually inflection points. And those things that you deem failure and defeat are inflection points of wisdom and spiritual growth. And as you see them from the higher point of view, you'll be able to see how those things are actually the foundation on which you're going to stand and move into your greatness. But for those things, you can't be great. You can't be great until you understand the wisdom in your struggle and your pain. Okay? And so that inner conflict that you've had for years, that we all have to some degree, that stuff gets worked out when you lead with your heart and you realize that your heart is what's going to allow you to tap into a dimension that does not have the polarity and the duality. It's a dimension that allows you to reconcile these things that seem like they are irrevocably separated. It seems like things that can't go together and can't be reconciled. But if you stay in your heart and you let your heart lead you, you will be surprised at what you can accomplish. So I'm going to share some intentions and affirmations that really can help you begin to do the work of resolving and reconciling the inner conflict that, again, we all experience and we all have to some degree, that right now is being reflected in our external world. And in order for us to have peace in the world, we got to have peace in our heart. We have to have peace in our respective inner realities. We have to stop walking past and ignoring those conflicts on the inside that continue to rear their ugly heads, and they're not resolved. And we keep going back to them, spiraling back to these issues. And through shadow work and actually having affirmations that are heart-centered will allow us to gradually smooth over those inner conflicts. Okay, so this is one that is really good. The first one is this. You can repeat this. I love every aspect of myself as God loves me. Okay, I love every aspect of myself as God loves me. I see every aspect of myself as God sees me, as my higher self sees me. Fill in the blank with the term that you want to use that feels more comfortable to you. Some people like to say God, some people say higher self, some people say source, some people say the divine creator, whatever works for you. But I love every aspect of myself as the divine creator loves me. The next one, through meditation and the loving intentions of my heart, I reconcile all inner conflict so that my mind subjects itself to my heart in a marriage of internal peace and balance. I'll say that again. Through meditation and the loving intentions of my heart, I reconcile all inner conflict so that my mind subjects itself to my heart in a marriage of internal peace and balance. Okay? Another thing you can say is, I am aware and consciously embody the law of correspondence. I am aware of and consciously embody the law of correspondence, which is as above, so beneath, and it follows that as within, so without. Embody that, breathe that, understand that, begin to have a true relationship with that law, because then you will exemplify, you will model that, you will walk that out, and it will become real and alive in you. And it will expedite the reconciliation of those inner conflicts. And the last one is this. My inner peace is reflected in my external world. That is, my inner peace is reflected in my external world. So again, I believe today's topic is reconciling inner conflict. Reconciling inner conflict. That is something that I think if we begin to do it consciously and intentionally, one by one, each of us, if we put that and make that a priority, it is something that will make a difference not only in our own lives, but in the lives of everybody, because we're going to be able to see the differences that take place in the world. So I really believe that's the most important thing I want to cover today. This has been in my spirit so strongly, but it has to start from somewhere. So those of us who've been thinking about world peace and have thought about it and feel like maybe it's not possible, I believe it is possible, but it actually does start individually with the internal work that has to be done. So with that, I'll say have a happy Saturday, and I will talk to you all next week. Take care.